don't have the skill sets that you have, or vice versa. So say for instance, you're a money man, Tony. You might have in your mastermind group someone that's related to technology and resources, someone that's related to marketing, someone that's related to insurance, and you know what I'm saying? You know how
Yeah,
you're bored of
right.
amazing dynamic individuals.
Yes,
That's your mastermind
an
group.
a great example of that. You're absolutely right. Surround
Yes,
yourself with folks who don't have the things that you need for that to happen. In fact, in Think and Grow Rich, I think there was an interview with Henry Ford where somebody was saying that he was ignorant, and he was saying, I might be, but I can hit a button and anybody, I can get an answer to anything I need to know because I've got people who can answer that, who can provide that. So that is a great
absolutely.
example.
I got people. I like how you phrase that. I got people. And so that's the same thing happens in your Toastmasters clubs. You're coming together in small groups. You have generally about 20 members in your club. And these people are coming from all walks of life. So you might have a person in your club, like say in my home club, I have a city council person in my club. I have a electronic person who repairs and builds appliances and those type of things. I'm a coach. I have another individual in my club who's also a professional coach, and she's a award-winning author, just as I am. But you have different people from different walks of life coming to a club for one purpose, and that
Mhm.
is for their own personal development. And so you happen to grow and enhance your own personal development when you merge and interact and link with other individuals. And so you will end up finding that you will learn from each other just by associating or through association, and by sharing experiences, resources, talents, services, all those type of things. So we get together on a bi-weekly basis on every other Tuesday. On actually it's the second and fourth Tuesday. We get
Mhm.
together at noon. And so noon kind of lets you know the culture of our club. My club is one that either has entrepreneurs or retired people, or say persons that work overnight. Because other clubs, that might have meetings at 7 p.m. in evening, those are generally going to be for people that want to come after work. We
Right.
also have some of our midday clubs are corporate clubs, whereas the individuals are coming together on their lunch break. And so they're getting together, they're working through the Pathways program, which is the educational system that Toastmasters uses. And it has about 6 paths. And
Mhm.
those paths are designed to take you along a particular journey to reach your goals. It's
Okay.
not about Toastmasters goals, it's about your goals. But what you will find is that the group of individuals that you're working with, you will find that synergy begins to occur. And you'll find that you need something that the other person needs, and vice versa. And so you end up learning and growing together. And then when there's a need, like say for instance, when the pandemic hit,
Mhm.
and our meetings were taking place live at the Iron Bank. We were meeting there on those second and fourth Tuesdays. We were enjoying the camaraderie and engaging in the connections with one another. And all of a sudden, bam! You can't leave your house. Well,
Right.
guess what? We took that same system online, just as what we're doing right now, and we went to Zoom or WebEx and all the other platforms that
Right.
people are
Right.
using online to do our regular ongoing meetings.
Hmm. That's
And
awesome.
we began to be support for each other as individuals began to get COVID. We began
Mhm.
to be support for each other when individuals, family members began to get COVID, and some transitioned and all kinds of things. People lost their jobs. We became that source for each other to hold one another together, to uplift each other, to encourage and motivate each other. And so we are so much more than individuals on our own paths. We're also a part of a core group who
Right.
supports and uplifts each other.
Well, that is fantastic.
That's great.
Okay, I want to go back to Maestro. Any update on the?
Yeah, so we're good to go. Um, I'd like to apologize to everybody out there. If you didn't catch that first, few minutes on there, it was
It was
a
off.
technical difficulty. So, but we were going strong, and we're still here. So we got everything going well. So, but there's no comments yet. There are some people watching. So, but
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
okay.
Well, Versandra, let me ask. In as much as you were addressing the COVID environment, how that is taking people from the physical proximity type of gatherings to now everything virtual. Uh, and I want you to blend that with that development that you talked about, the pathways. Now, when I know more about Toastmasters now than I used to because I know you. But if somebody said Toastmasters to me 4 years ago, it would have been, oh, learn to be a public speaker,
Mm-hmm.
which may be the very elemental perspective that many people have. Uh, but help us to understand more broadly the value of engaging with Toastmasters. And like I said, with the expanded perception of now that we're in such a virtual landscape, how being able to meet virtually and do these things with people from various backgrounds, various geographies, even, how this has really kind of enhanced it in the way that you present that idea. So I'll let you speak. Mhm.
Yeah, it really has enhanced it because, it was just your group, your four walls that your group got together in. And then if there was a district event, then you might see all 300 and something clubs in your club in one gathering together. That's an annual conference. But now we are finding that Toastmasters are literally traveling the world using Toastmasters clubs as their vehicle. We have 146 countries that our clubs are located in, literally thousands of clubs all over the world. And so we have some people who started off the I say the COVID year, which would be, say, March of 2020. They
Mm.
started off that period by traveling the world. We were preparing to go to France, to Paris, France, for our international convention around that time. It was supposed to happen in April. So here we are planning to go to France, and it wasn't happening because we couldn't get on a flight. So we were like, well, how do we still engage? How do we still have our conference, in fact? And so we found these platforms online that allows us to go and visit individual clubs and to come together. And I mean, literally, we have our annual conference happening on a platform called HOVA. I'm not sure if you ever heard of that, but they do large conferences to where you could have 1 million people online at one time, if you can imagine that. And
Wow.
so, if it were not for Toastmasters, me being able to even access a platform of that type, I'm sure it would have happened eventually. But now I'm actually a part of the working on the back office of that type of system. And how do you put together a conference that has all of these breakout rooms and different sessions
Mhm.
happening at one time, and entertainment, actually having vendors happening in a I guess you would call it a vendor pavilion, online vendor pavilion.
Wow.
All of those things are happening virtually. And
Mhm.
Toastmasters gives me a preview to those type of things so that I can take them into my business. I'm doing virtual retreats and stuff now because of what I've learned through Toastmasters. I just cannot imagine what my life would be like if I had not jumped on board 5 years ago and said, okay, I am ready to be retooled. I am
Mhm.
ready to become the person that I need to be able to get government contracts. That's one of my big goals, is to be able
Right.
to cultivate those government contracts for the purpose of bringing holistic health education and optimal living retreats into the government sector.
Veterans in the government sector, yeah.
Yeah. So if that is my goal, then I have to be a different person than the person that I was 5 years ago when I decided that I wanted to develop into this person. I have a 2 year, I guess you would call it an associate's degree, but for the average person that's running a multi-million dollar corporation is what I am seeing myself as in the very near future, then they have PhDs, master's degrees. They have special skill sets. And
Right.
so I recognize that at my age, I'm not prepared to go back to school and get a master's degree at this point. But there are some skill sets, some organizational development skill sets, some managerial skill sets that I can enhance through the Pathways program in Toastmasters. So, like right now, I'm in the I completed recently the visionary communication path. I found that it was difficult for me to express what my business or organization, how we brought value to the world, because you can't see, feel, touch it. It's not like it's a pair of glasses that you purchase and you put them on your ears and you can see better. It's
Hmm.
not like that. Personal development is so much more different because you're literally going into the files of a person's mind to discover why they think and perceive things in the way that they do and how
Right.
they can shift their perspective in order to achieve a different goal or outcome that they had no idea that they could.
Hmm.
So when you're talking about delivering something like that to a group of individuals who may not have even been introduced to personal development on any level, then you have to be a visionary communicator. And I had to become that by knowing my leadership style, learning my communication style, understanding how those styles have impacted other people and how they perceive me, and then understand how to shift and be able to communicate and interact with individuals in their way, not in my way, in the
Hmm.
way that they can receive it and they can actually act upon the information I'm sharing with them and get the benefits because they know what I'm talking about. you
Right.
know and so that's a skill set. That's something I had to grow into. And so as I went through this process, it was 5 different projects that I had to take on as I went through this. It developed me in such a way that now I have a more clear vision myself. you
Hmm.
know, I know the steps it's going to take for me to bring my vision to fruition. I know how to encourage other people to buy into my vision. I know how to get individuals to say, yes, not only do I buy into it, but I want to invest in your vision. So those are things that are skill sets we have to develop. And so
That
now that's just one path that's going to lead me to a second DTM, which DTM stands for Distinguished Toastmaster. That's the highest level of education one can attain with Toastmasters. And I have one already, but
awesome.
since we have this new Pathways learning program, I want to get it in that program too. So now I'll have two.
Well, I
And you
you
shall.
I'm sorry, Milt.
I just said, and you shall. Yes.
You share, yeah. Well, I was gonna say you're really, peeling back the layers of the Toastmasters onion as you're, alliterating through telling your own personal story about,
Mhm.
how it works, what it's done for you, and then these other achievements. Now you hit on something in the part of that conversation that I want to explore because I think it's foundational to people really connecting with where this could take them. And that is, you say you made decisions and you realized that you needed to develop, and I would certainly have to say that, for anybody to pick this book up first and foremost, I mean, it might be out of curiosity or somebody might have told you about it, as I believe somebody told me about it, and I think that's where all the sales have gone on for the past couple hundred years since it
Yeah.
was written. But and it says think and grow rich. In other words, first you have to perceive the idea, and from the standpoint that this relates to mastermind, you bring all these other resources into alignment around what you thought about. Because until you thought about it, it's kind of like static electricity just floating out there. But and then when you create that lightning rod, there's a sparks all coalesce to, or like you have the little filings, you get the magnet, they all come to. That thought is the beginning.
Yeah.
But to the point that you brought up about the development, you have to realize that you need to develop, and something caused you to make that realization. So I want to take the flip side of that. What are some of the things as people watch this that will make them more alert to the fact that, okay, maybe the fact that you need to develop is keeping you from accomplishing your goals and dreams? And I use this as an example. We say at Private Money Syndicate, we power dreams with private money.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's got a dream, and it takes money to make almost all those dreams a reality. But people are reluctant to engage sometimes because they have self-doubt or whatever. So let me stop rambling. But yeah, let's get people to break break the seal on their own belief systems and expose themselves to the fact that there are resources that can help them to develop into the person they need to become, like you have. I'm trying to
Yeah.
imagine you not being you. Tell me, Milt. The energy, it's like you are, like I said, like sunshine. It's kind of like boom. Versandra's here.
Yeah.
Right, right. Brighten up the room. Right.
Yeah, now maybe you've
So,
been that way your whole life, but if
yeah.
this is the result of becoming a Toastmaster, everybody needs to sign up, right?
Well,
It's an
the
accumulation of
bubbliness,
Yeah,
the bubbliness, the energy, the
to the
smile, all
bubbliness.
of that is who I am. That's
Right,
right,
that's
right,
something.
exactly.
But you have to polish who you are.
right.
Just like a diamond. You find a diamond in the rough, it does not look like what you find when you go into a store and you look on the showcase.
Mhm.
It looks like a rock. And
Yeah,
then you have to go through a process of cleaning and refining and developing. And so this is what we're talking about. It's not like everybody that's listening is not perfect, whole, and complete already.
mhm,
That's another thing that I had to recognize. It's not that I'm fixing anything because I am perfect, whole, and complete.
that's right.
God made me that way. But there are things that happen during your life's journey, that can actually shift who
Mhm.
you are or who you become based on the things you pick up along the way.
Mhm.
Sometimes people go through traumatic situations in their life, and so they become hard and they become cold and they become disconnected. And it's a mechanism that they put in place to protect themselves, really. But that doesn't go off very well when you're in business or if you're in a leadership position, because everybody goes through their own challenges and nobody really cares about what your problems are in your life. So you have to be able to put on a different face sometimes and change the vibration even in the room when you know that you want to get something out of that situation that you're in that day. You walk into a meeting and you had all kinds of stuff going on in your life before you got there, but you had decided before going to that meeting you wanted to reach, say, two new prospects. Well, if you go through all of the junk that was going on before you got to the meeting, then your chances of leaving with those prospects are going to be totally opposite from
Mhm.
when if you were able to shift your mind, focus your intention, and
Mhm.
then put a smile on your face and walk in that door and claim what it is you came in there for. So that is something we have to learn how to do. We don't all come in the door knowing that as a skill set. So I learned how to do that. I learned how to change the tone of my voice. Sometimes when you're
Mhm.
in, I'm from the hood, y'all. I'm sorry. I can say I'm from the hood, ghetto, whatever. And
Well,
in the
I'm from the
hood,
woods.
people talk loud. It's like a cultural thing, if
Yeah,
you well.
Mm,
And you have to learn that that is not acceptable in certain environments. And you have to be able to shift your tone and speak in a way that people can hear you and you command attention without screaming and hollering. So that's another skill set I learned. But then there's the thing about being an African American woman in America.
mm,
When I worked in a career in an industry where I was told years ago that you could never do that job. Don't you
mm.
understand? You're a black woman. Don't you know that's a middle-aged white man's job? You will never do that job. These are the things that were told to me coming up. And so
mm,
I had to be able to shift that mindset and be able to not believe what was told to me because somebody was trying to speak that into existence in my
Right,
life, but I
right.
was not accepting that. So I had to be able to be comfortable having communications in groups of people who did not look like me. So
mm,
in Toastmasters, I'm in a room full of individuals. I believe in my club there might be 3 African Americans. And this is not to say that, it's a good or a bad thing because all clubs have different cultures. You might have an all African American Toastmasters club. But for me and my career goals, I need to be able to communicate with people from all races, all walks of life. I need to be able to communicate with that middle aged white man that they told me that I could not work in his position. you
mm.
know,
Right.
I have to be able to communicate with him on his level. I need to understand the terminology that he uses when he discusses different topics, and I have to be able to hear, respond, and I have to be able to and you almost combat you know some negativity and things that might be coming in my direction purposefully in a negative way, and I have to turn that into a positive. I have to hear what's being said and then shift it and make it something that's beneficial. So those are skill sets that
Mm,
I learned from Toastmasters.
Mm,
I'm going to
great.
tell you another thing that I learned how to be quiet and let a person complete their thought and not respond before they even finish the sentence. We get excited sometimes. We want to respond based on what we think we're hearing in the beginning of the conversation, when in reality, the person really has something totally different from what our mind is thinking that they're trying to communicate to us.
All right.
So we have to be able to be quiet and hear and listen to not only the words coming out of a person's mouth, but the nonverbal communication. There are
mm.
things being said that are not verbal, you
Right.
know. And when you are looking and you're communicating and oh, you got to get that and you have to respond accordingly.
Uh, well, I was going to ask the maestro that, well, one, if we have any comments or questions for Sandra in the chat from the viewers.
Yeah, so we got some people chiming in this morning. Ebony, one of my good friends, she comes in. She says, "Good morning, everyone."
Good morning.
Rashonda Parker, another one of my friends, she's coming in. She says, "Good morning." Ebony says, "Yes, so very true." Speaking to the choir. So she's definitely with your sister. She's in there. She's down there clapping and screaming and stomping her feet too. She's right there with you. So. I think a lot of the stuff that you're saying is very powerful, and I'm glad you're here to tell us this and to share that with us. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, from the standpoint you talked about being in rooms and conversations that you may be the only African American, or you might be the only woman, or the double of that only African American woman in a setting. I've in fact, it didn't even phase me anymore when that happens. But
Mm-hmm.
being well, I grew up during the latter phases of the Jim Crow South. So, and as I think about this as only an example of the point I want to make, a lot of times society and circumstance conditions us to a certain set of beliefs
Mm-hmm.
about ourselves and about other people and things like that. How or can you give another example of how Toastmasters would be helpful for someone to be able to explore those preconceptions about who they are, about how other people are, which will again open them up to evolve into a more powerful and productive and influential person.
Yes, Tony, I'm so happy that you mentioned that because, some of what we believe is, somebody told us, but it's
Mm,
not really because we observed it ourselves. It's just, it's just hearsay. So when you're in a club setting and you have, 20 members, generally there's going to be, I would say, 8 or 10 people on each meeting because everybody doesn't show up for every meeting. You're going to have a person that's going to get up and they're going to speak 5 to 7 minutes about a topic of their choice. And because it's a topic of their choice, they're inviting you into their life. I have a member that talks about pickleball, something I never heard of in the
yeah,
56 years
I
that
want
I've
to
been
play
living.
pickleball. It's kind of like tennis and badminton somehow combined on a basketball.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
But if I were not in a Toastmasters club, listening to this young lady talk, her and her husband, about their competition in pickleball, I would not have known anything about such a thing. But I get to learn about it, not only what it is, but how enjoyable it is for this couple to play. And then whatever twist that they put on it in their story, I'm
Right, right.
learning about it in that way. And this is a lifestyle, a culture, and a game that I am totally unfamiliar with. Now I have familiarity, not just from the speech, but from individuals that I could call at any point in time and ask them questions about it. It's really cool. But
Yeah.
another thing is, say you have an individual that, there's a young lady doing a speech, and she was in fire prevention and safety. And so she did this whole PowerPoint presentation, and she went into this whole conversation and this lesson about the different types of fire extinguishers there are, and what numbers and which fires they extinguish, which type of fire it extinguishes. So you are in a room or in a on a virtual platform, engaging, hearing 5 to 7 minute speeches,
Hmm.
you insights to people's lives, and you get to ask questions, you get to, whatever it is, and you get to share the same things. When the violence and stuff broke out because another African American person was killed by a police officer, you better believe there were Toastmasters Club podiums and mics that were on fire
Hmm.
because members were talking about what was important to them. That's what you're getting up and talking
Hmm.
about. And so now you
Interesting.
get to share your deep emotional feelings in the form of a 5 to 7 minute speech.
Okay.
You
Okay.
get across all of the pain and hurt that you might be experiencing in these speeches, and you get a chance to see individuals who don't look like you hearing every word. They're hanging on to every word that you're speaking, and so it gives you a feeling of being able to express your deep emotions to a person who you really want to hear you. At
Hmm.
least they look like someone. But that right there is so powerful because now it's not like you're holding it all in and you're saying to yourself, I can't share my thoughts. I can't talk about what I'm really feeling. I can't tell the people who I want to tell what I really want them to know. Yes, you can. You can do it in a format of a prepared speech. And it will have an opening. It will have a middle, which is your body of your speech, where all of the meat and potatoes is. It will have a closing, and it will leave that person who hears you, have them leave with a different mindset and a different perspective than they even had when they came in.
Right.
So it's almost therapy too.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you led me to think of another thing I want to ask you that you started talking about structure. And one of the things, and I think it may have been Mildred, it might have been you, I can't remember, it was one or two of you. I said, whenever I communicate something as an email or something, I always think first, what do I want the person to do with as a result of this communication? And then I think, how do I want to make them feel? Because, we say that we are emotional creatures that rationalize with logic. So usually if I want somebody to do something, I got to create the feeling that makes them want to. So to that point, I don't know where I came up with that or whether I learned it somewhere, but within Toastmasters, to be an effective communicator, what are some, because if you're going to be in business or leader and a preacher or teacher, to be an effective communicator is one of the most highly prized skills, most highly paid skills. One of the world needs more effective communicators.
Yes.
Um, so what does Toastmasters do can you break it down so people say, oh yeah, I need this kind of prescriptively
Hmm.
to help people to evolve in that way?
Okay, well, let me just begin by saying that it begins with having a core values. Every organization has core values, and the core values of Toastmasters it boils down to rise. That's the way I remember it. Rise up, and the core values stand for the R is respect. So you have to have mutual respect for every individual in your club and yourself. I is for your integrity. Do what you say you're gonna do, and if you say you're gonna do it, just let people know that if you said it, it's gonna be done. So living
Mm.
in integrity in every way. Your S, yeah, S, and that is going to be, oh my God, I can't think of it right. No, service. And then E is excellence. Service is not only serving your immediate community, but serving out in your community, serving out in your expanded community, and then of course the excellence, doing the best you can in everything that you do. So when I think about those core values and I think about Toastmasters, that really is your prescription. You're going to learn how to live in those core values. And
Mm-hmm.
then you take those core values into everything that you do. And that means that when you're communicating on the job and interacting and those type of things, you're bringing rising up into those things. But the other thing is Toastmasters has an education program that's all about verbal communication, listening skills, and giving feedback. But then there is the public speaking that we talked about, which has a competitive edge. Toastmasters actually produces the world champion of public speaking each and every year. You can
Wow.
go on YouTube and you can just do a Google search or YouTube search, world champion of public speaking. You will find that Toastmasters has done a competition each year with over, oh my God, 3,000 plus individuals who compete to get to that place each and every year, I tell you. And
Wow.
so, and so that is a thing that whether you're in Columbus, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, Detroit, Michigan, wherever you are in the world, you can start in your club. You win in the club level, you go to the area, you go to the district, to the division, then you go to the district, and then the semifinals will take you to the world championship. So those are all different ways that you can exercise or take advantage of the Toastmasters program to reach your goals, whether it's the speaking path or the leadership path. And if
Okay.
you decide you want to be a club leader, like a club president, vice president of education, membership, public relations, even be a secretary or sergeant at arms, you are learning literally how to run a nonprofit organization from the executive standpoint. That's what you're learning by serving
Mm.
in one of those capacities. Then you go to the district level, which is where I am, and now you're talking about multiple clubs. So I have 12 clubs with over 200 members that I am supporting. And so really I'm serving as a coach, a mentor to all of the club leaders and their members, but then I'm a liaison between the clubs and the district, which has over 300 and something clubs. So I'm learning how to manage and how to lead on a multi-level um, capacity, if you will, instead of just a one-on-one club, which has many different dynamics. Oh my God. And
Wow.
so that's just something that I want to challenge myself with, because my previous career, that's what I did with 22 stores in 3 states in
Hmm.
retail. So I'm just kind of unilaterally shifting in the leadership arena to do something similar, but my main gifts lie in my ability to motivate and inspire and encourage other people to become the best version of themselves. So that's what I do in Toastmasters as well.
Well, I want to ask a question off of what you just said, and I'll invite the maestro to have one following mine, or if we have any in the chat. How do you suggest somebody discover, like you just said it? I mean, literally, it's still ringing in my ears. How you have found this mechanism, this environment to help cultivate to become the best person you can with the gifts that you have. How would you suggest that people explore what their gifts are? Because you just made me think. I think I've got some gifts, but I'm not quite sure what my gifts are.
Yeah, yeah.
From the standpoint that I remember me as, well, you said you were from the hood. I said I was from the woods.
I like
and,
that.
and, and oftentimes I feel like I just kept getting lucky. Like somebody would pick me to do something I do good, and somebody see me, then they pick me to, and after a while I kind of like, oh, okay, I'm in this place. But until we just all really started working together a few years ago, this was the first time in my life I ever decided this is something I want to do and I want to organize. But all the development to get there, like you made reference to your career in retail, it just kind of happened.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people drifting, or maybe the what they got picked to do didn't serve them very well. I just feel
right.
blessed and fortunate that I look at it that way. But is there an opportunity in Toastmasters for people just kind of come and explore to see
Yes,
what's within them that could be developed in Toastmasters?
absolutely. This organization is so profound. Let me tell you, because of its I guess depth and breadth. It has every type of tool accessible to you wherever you are. You can go online, like I said, to YouTube and go to the Toastmasters International page, and you can literally go into a virtual session. You can go into a virtual pathway session where you can get a feel of what the different paths are, and you can find out how they are structured and that type of thing. You can take an assessment that'll tell you which path is most best suited for you. You can reach that assessment is at toastmasters.org.
Mm-hmm.
Toastmasters.org is where you would also be able to find a Toastmasters club in your community. So there's like a find a club near me type button, and you put in your zip code and it will tell you where the closest club to you is. And then there are um, personality tests and things like that I use that are very beneficial with helping you to determine which career path is best suited for you and your personality type. And I like to refer people to those type of things because they seem to be very, very accurate. And once you know who you are, that's probably the greatest goal anybody has in life, is to figure out who the heck they are.
I need to
And
go right now.
also, you know what they say, know thyself.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
To
it,
then
it,
our
it
own self be true.
really it until you transition, you are learning who you are.
Wow.
And so it does require, though, that you put forth some effort. You do have to say, I think I read the first book that got me on my path was The Purpose Driven Life. And
Mm-hmm.
that was probably 20 years ago that I read
Mm.
that book. It's been some time, but that kind of got me on this path with trying to figure out what my purpose was. And so, yeah, because I was in my 30s. And I'm like, I know what I thought I was supposed to be doing, but what really am I supposed to do? And generally, even in my coaching, when I put that hat on, I help people to find out where they have the most joy, you
Mm,
know, because really that's what your purpose is wherever
right.
you find your joy, that's where your purpose is going to lie. Because you were created to be happy and have a joy filled life. And
Yes.
until you find and connect with that joy, then you're going to be searching.
Mm,
And I want to say that just because someone seems to be just kind of moving along doesn't mean that they're lost. Some of us were created to be those individuals who wander.
Right. I was gonna
mm,
And
say
they're
not
not,
all who wander are lost, right?
thank you. Yeah, yeah. I found that out about
Literally, yeah.
myself,
Hmm.
yeah.
literally, because I see the world as my playground. I see
Mm,
the universe as my playground. So I cannot find myself stuck in one place because my playground is everywhere.
well, we've got, I guess, about 3 more minutes before we have to end this delightful conversation. I was going to ask the maestro if he had a question or if there are any other questions or comments in the chat that Sandra can address.
Yeah, no questions or comments, nothing else, and I just want to say, that it's amazing listening to your story and to your evolution into becoming who you are and rediscovering. I like to say rediscovering because I feel that all things have already been known, and so that
Yeah,
we're just rediscovering these things about ourselves. So once, as
yes,
we elevate in that way, that the expansion happens, and it's a
yes.
beautiful thing. So thank you for sharing yours. I appreciate that. It's very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Sandra, we got about 2 minutes for you to share with everybody how they can contact you, how they can plug into Toastmasters. So if you just let that out and let everybody engage, I think there's all the reasons in the world that you share with them to explore the opportunities with Toastmasters International.
Yes, thank you. And Tony and Milt, I want to thank you guys for this opportunity to just come on to the show again. Before we were talking about living a holistic
Right,
lifestyle
right,
and
right.
that type of thing. And now we're talking about Toastmasters. And I'm really hoping that the two of you will become members this week. In fact, today, this is the last day of the week. Next week.
Close it
Like literally this week, literally
Today.
right now.
today, not
I
tomorrow,
learned that from
today.
Toastmasters too. Close the sale.
Like it
Close it.
all
That's
the
right.
time.
That's right. Call to action. Call them.
Yes, yes. Well, listen, on Tuesday, Toastmasters of this area, Talkmasters Toastmasters Club, we are inviting all of Columbus to our Building Bridges, Becoming Limitless open house. This is our spring open house. We do this every year, but this particular theme is really all about the idea that Columbus is growing and expanding like crazy before our eyes. We're sitting, I can look out the window. I'm looking at a hotel, one of three new hotels that just opened up across the block here. And some people are benefiting from the growth, the massive growth and things that are happening, and others are not. And so we want to have a discussion about how do you build bridges in Columbus so that everyone has the opportunity to become limitless. And so I have invited the mayor of our city, Skip. I hate to call everybody first
Skip
name,
Henderson.
but
Skip
oh Lord
Henderson.
have mercy.
Skip Henderson.
Okay,
Yeah.
the honorable mayor Skip Henderson.
Henderson.
I want
Yeah.
to
Yes.
say
Hmm.
we have our the CEO of the Columbus Area Chamber of Commerce who's going to be joining us. We have the police chief who is going to be joining us, brand new police chief. We have a city council member and other community leaders who will be joining us, giving 1 to 2 minute speeches. That's the other thing about Toastmasters. You learn how to get your point across in a short period of time. It does, you don't have to talk for hours upon hours to say what you have to say. So you have to learn how to get it done. 1 to 2 minute speeches, and it's going to be so powerful. We hope you will join us. You can find us on Eventbrite. Put in Talk Masters Toastmasters Club. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on IG. We're all over the place. You can look up Versandra Kennebrew and reach out to me directly. But on Tuesday at noon, we're gonna be broadcasting this open house. You can come. Well, I'm not gonna invite you to come live because of the COVID restrictions, but we will have a small group of people here at our building here at Startup Columbus, but then other people, I'm hoping about 100 individuals would join us on Zoom as we talk about this discussion and give you an opportunity to feel a Toastmasters experience from the comforts of your home or phone or wherever it is that you're going to be using your device. So that's
Awesome.
what's up. That's how you contact me. And I thank you again, Tony and Milt, for allowing me to come and hang out with you this afternoon.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you. Like I said, whenever I'm around you, I find this myself just smiling because your energy is infectious. It's absolutely awesome. So everybody, please reach out, engage, and participate in this event if you can. And to the maestro, I want to thank you for all you do to keep us here on the Facebook and out there in the world, sharing this awesome message from the Private Money Syndicate. And as I always say, if you're going to go in business and stay in business, you got to mind your business. That's the name of the show. And with that, I want to let Maestro take us on home.
All right, and I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Thank you, Versandra. We really appreciate you for all you do and all your capacities. And we all are limitless, so that's the possibilities are limitless. And so thank you all for joining us, and thank you for your support. And we'll see you on the next one. Y'all take care now.